I saw this movie called Demolition recently. It stars Jake Gyllenhaal, Naomi Watts, and Jon Voight. I rather liked this movie because it was really about being honest with oneself, uh, to the point of exhibiting behavior that other people might find crazy or puzzling. It's about Jake Gyllenhaal's character. His wife dies almost immediately in the film, so you don't really know who he was beforehand, but you know it has an extreme effect on him. He doesn't really appear to be sad for his wife, but it's kind of denoted that he was in an autopilot kind of mode because he was in a position of sales and making money primarily off of the backs of other people because he was in a higher position. So even though he had tons of money and a very nice house and a marriage, he obviously doesn't have the life that he really wants. He, as it shows in the trailer, so I'm not really giving anything away here, he writes to a vending machine company about not getting his food for putting in a quarter. And he ends up venting about his life, his frustrations in doing so. He obviously is aware of the absurdity of what he's doing, but he is impulsively just doing whatever he feels like, saying whatever he feels like. It remains to be seen if that was his personality before or not. I suspect he was always like that, but never to this level, that the death of his wife kind of amplifies his emotions and willingness to do whatever he feels like, even if it ends up being him losing his job. Alright, that at this point on, I'm going to be revealing spoilers, if that sounds like the kind of movie you're into. What's interesting about this movie, I can't really say without giving spoilers. It doesn't go in any directions of conventions that you've seen before. Like, it's not really a love story. It's really about grief and making sense of who you really are when grief happens to you. So okay, spoilers from this point on. The Jake Gyllenhaal's character, when he writes to the vending machine company, the customer service employee there is Naomi Watts, and she responds back to him. She calls him up at like 2 a.m. and says that the letters he said had a profound effect on her. She doesn't mean to be unprofessional right now. It made her cry at one point, and she seems very intrigued by his honesty in saying whatever he's going to, even if it makes him appear crazy or it's unconventional or maybe even against society standards. What I like about this movie is that it might be implied that there's a romance between them, but they also just might be friends. It's the typical thing would be for there to be an instant romance with them without real explanation, but the movie's not about that. Our protagonist, the reason why it's called Demolition is at one point his wife gave him some tools to fix a refrigerator and he never did it. Once she passed away and he didn't really have much to do, like his normal routine wasn't doing it for him anymore, he tried taking apart his fridge and fixing it, and he failed utterly at it. What he found, though, was that he really liked deconstructing it and seeing the insides and seeing how it works, even if he didn't understand what that was. And the metaphor the film is creating is that he is deconstructing his life to see why did he even do these things? Why did he even marry this woman? Why did he take on this job? What is it he really actually enjoys doing and being now that he has plenty of money? So that's kind of like the metaphor and tie-all and quite literal is that he's deconstructing himself, and so that he understands how he would rather put it back together. What's also fascinating about this film is it could have just went into a romance with Naomi Watts, but he doesn't do that. That doesn't really honor, that wouldn't really honor him grieving over his wife either, her death. But he ends up hanging out with her son instead, because he's actually pretty cool. Like, they have sort of a kinship, and it really shows you that this film is all about embodying the spontaneous impulses that we have, even if they seem crazy or it might get us into some weird consequences. Because you got Jake Gyllenhaal's character behaving really strange at work to the point where he just doesn't care about his job anymore. And that's where Jon Voight's character is. He's the father of the wife that passed away. And he has really a lot of difficulty making sense out of Jake Gyllenhaal's character. I forget his name, the character. The cool thing about this movie is, though, even though it may seem like a lot of spontaneous, weird, wild actions that don't make sense, is there is actual reasoning behind the narrative as to why he is going through these things. It's subtle, but I really do feel like he finds himself in allowing for him to do whatever he feels called to do, even if it is nonsensical to others. The fact that he's actually able to identify that he did have love in him with his wife, but he just didn't take care of it, and that he is trying to reignite that love in his own life, whatever that may be. I think movies like these are very healthy for us, because it invites us to, or challenges us to do the same with our own lives. I do believe this movie exaggerated things for comical intent, such as him taking a bulldozer to his house. I speculate the reason they don't smash into the whole house is because it would be really expensive for them to do that. That's why the bulldozer probably fails. But yeah, it would be better for us to destroy the things that are not really us, that we tell ourselves are us, than to keep on perpetuating their lies that we accept. I also like this movie from a writer's perspective. I tend to like movies from the point of view that the characters are different, multifaceted ways of being, different experiences, and in going through different experiences, the person can evolve and become something completely different, rather than being a stagnant being who is always trying to stay on top of the world. I tend to like movies like that. So I like really pretty visuals, but if the movie doesn't have a reason for those pretty visuals, and it's not about people evolving or devolving, I'm not really interested in it anymore. I've seen a lot of movies. I like it when the exterior beauty of the film matches the thematic content that is actually there. I'll give you an example. There's a lot of action movies now where everyone knows Kung Fu. I was really into Kung Fu kind of martial arts stuff when I was younger, But now when I see that it doesn't match the source material, it doesn't make sense to me. I no longer care about someone doing something very tiny in physics with their body to destroy someone else. I'm more interested in examining a person trying to be their authentic self, whatever it is. And so that's why I appreciated this movie. Yeah, what are your thoughts on the movie? I'm not worried if whether you liked it or hated it. I'd give it something like a 7 out of 10. Not that I think the rating system is be all end all. It tends to make us try to rank movies with hierarchy, and I'm not really into that. I'd rather share how something personally affected you, and seeing the value of whatever it is. And I believe we can do that and also notice that every film is not perfect. It's just not a reality. Even my favorite films over time, I started realizing what it wasn't. And movies don't have to be everything. The whole idea of them, I believe, is to show you something. You're focusing on one aspect, one possibility of existence. And ideally, it resonates with you. And when you're done with it, you're not the same person that you were when you started it. I fear that a lot of movies are actually giving people the illusion that they are becoming stronger, but they're actually the same person. Maybe even worse, they're under a programming spell of feeling like they are becoming better and sort of a master over others, when we're just sitting around looking at screens pretending that's reality when we're afraid of who we really are. And this movie seemed to be really dispelling that. So thanks for watching, and listen to me sort of sort through my thoughts here. I hope you have a good day.